Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Conservative Corner. I'm Elliott Margolis. I'm here with my co-host, Gale Burke, and our special guest today is Joy Barbeau from Brooksby Village. A lot to talk about, some interesting information for you on this. So this is not political like we usually are. This is educational like we'd like to be. So here we go. Welcome, Joy. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here today.
And we want to try and educate people. And I know Brooksby has a lot to do with quote unquote Alzheimer's disease, but it's more like dementia because there's so many different forms of dementia.
Yes, correct.
So that's what I'd like you to educate us on is how many forms are there? What's some of the differences? How can you tell what everybody has?
So thank you so much again for having me here today. I'm very humble to talk about dementia. This is my word. I always educate people. I fight for the more support and you know, just taking care of my patients and my residents every day. It's really rewarding for me. So a lot of people misunderstand what is dementia. And many of the family members I have the direct contact with, they always think, oh, I can do this, I can do that. But they don't educate themselves first about the condition, what their parents or the loved ones they have. So the first thing, if you are having any contact with the person who might have any cognitive impairment, or your loved one has any changes, brain changes, you have to read more, you have to educate yourself. So that's my role. I constantly educate my team, my family members at Brooksby Village and everywhere else. So dementia is not just, you know, one thing. It's like when you have umbrella and there is a rain, you know, under that umbrella, there's a lot of different neurological conditions. But they are conditions. They are not diseases. Alzheimer's, it's the disease caused by dementia. And it's one of the most important and most occurring things, it's Alzheimer's disease. And it can be early onset or late onset. With Alzheimer's disease, we have a lot of changes with brain, with personality changes. You can be and what I see with my patients, I see the people may be very happy, or they might be very depressed, miserable, or have a lot of anxiety and behaviors. And you can be a sweet person throughout your entire life. You can be very quiet. But when your brain is affected with Alzheimer's disease, your brain is shrinking. So everything is changing. So you go with one side or the other. I see with my patients a lot, two different types of dementia. You can have Alzheimer's and you can have vascular dementia. So pure Alzheimer's, it's the brain disease. From your entire brain, it can be 3 pounds. You can see the entire beautiful brain. I love brain. I love talking about the brain. But at the end of the stage of Alzheimer's, your brain is shrinking to 1 pound. So it's a tiny brain. And that's what cannot control everything. You know, the brain controls everything in our body, the whole system. So that's why your function is declining, and you are not able to walk, you are not able to think, you are not able to execute, you know, with your arms and reach for something. Vascular dementia, it's different. It's caused by the, you know, changes in your brain, in your vessels. So the vessels are, you know, bursting. So it's a little bit different. And it's caused by mini strokes. You can have a mini strokes first, or the major stroke, or any changes like COPD, you know, and you can have any changes in your circulation, and you can get the vascular dementia.
So those things bring on the dementia?
Dementia, yes. Okay. All of those things, but it's not, we have over 200 different types of dementias, and they still study, the researchers are still studying more and more, but they never found the cure. There's still no cure for that disease. If you have There's another type of dementia which I see very often with people with Parkinson. And my background is physical therapy, and I used to work with the patient with the Parkinsonian dementia. And you can see the changes in physical decline. It's not like your brain is changing, but physically you are declining, and you are hallucinating a lot. So you might walk, you might not know your destination, but you see the different things. And like this morning, I was walking with one of my patients, and we were just walking by ourselves in the courtyard. It was nice breeze, nice weather, and the patient told me, "Hey, do you see my mother? She's just approaching us." So, and that patient, he has a vascular dementia, and he does have a Parkinson disease. So it's very hard for him to find destination and approach like the chair, sit on the chair. And we have also frontotemporal dementia. So frontotemporal dementia, it's also the brain disease. It affects your frontal lobe and your side lobe, temporal lobe, temper. And that affects a lot of personality changes. And also it affects the language. I used to work with Gale's husband, who had Alzheimer's, and he also had the problem with expressing with language, expressing the words, finding the words, and that caused aphasia. So with frontotemporal dementia, you get pure aphasia. And with Alzheimer's, patients with Alzheimer's, I see a lot of aphasia going on. So they are not able to tell you their needs. They are not able to tell you the simple words. But if you have to be patient with every single person with dementia and different types of dementia, you have to be very patient. So if you are patient, they can tell you the full sentence. And it comes and goes. It doesn't happen very often. But when you get that full sentence, oh my goodness, my heart is always happy. It happened last night. I have a resident who walks everywhere, and she collects things, and people are always in her way, and she doesn't like that. So she will go and she will tell you, go away. But she's not able to tell you other words. But yesterday, she loves my office. So she will come to my office, and she will tell me some stuff which I cannot understand. But I always say, yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I listen to her. I pay attention. I look at her eyes. So she feels like I am connecting with her. Even though I cannot understand, just from her facial expression, from her moving the arms, I'm able to get little pieces. But I say, yes, thank you for coming. Thank you for bringing me this. Would you like this? Would you like that? So we connect in different way. And she's my best friend. She comes every 5 minutes to my office. So her office, it's like her sanctuary, my office. So if there's another patient there, she doesn't like it. So apparently yesterday someone else visited my office, and I have a nice chair which people sit down, they sleep, they cry, they are happy, they sing. And that person was sitting quietly, but the other resident didn't like that. But she doesn't talk. But she came to my office and she spoke full sentences, even with little swearing, which is okay. But yeah, that's the different types of dementia as well. And she has vascular dementia, and but also she does have the pure frontotemporal dementia, which language changes. So it's every minute is different, every person is different. I tell my team, love them unconditionally, because they become your family members. You are with them more than you are at home. But do not trust them, because you never know. It's not the person you knew before. It's not the person when they just have the beginning of dementia. They were sweet, everything was okay. The dementia, the condition changes very quickly. You don't know. Every minute is different.
And it changes on a dime, right?
Yes.
Very, very quickly.
Yes.
One day it
Yeah.
can be one thing, and the
Yeah.
next day totally different.
Yeah. Even the minutes too. Like you can talk to somebody and they are paying attention at you. Immediately they hear the voices, and they hear the echo, and they turn around and they just avoiding you, and they going and doing something different, or they are yelling out at different person. So it's a lot of confusion. So I always, when I talk about dementia, I imagine that you have the clouds all over your brain. So your brain is big, and gradually is shrinking. You don't have that fluid around. You don't have those neurotransmitters are not connecting, because like with pure Alzheimer, when you cut the brain and I did study the brain. I love the brain. So when I went to Northeastern University, I volunteered and I went to Mass General Hospital and we studied the brain. And few of my patients later on, they donated the brain to the research. So I was able to see, the real plaques and tau and tangles. So they are like shadows in your brain, but also you can see that darkness, and the spot. So I associate the brain with the pineapple. If you like the pineapple, don't think about the brain, but I like the pineapple. But it is, if you slice the pineapple, it looks like a brain. So when I have, Christmas, Easter party, and you put the pineapple outside on your table, it's nice and juicy. It's yellow. 2 hours later, it's dry. That's what our brain with pure Alzheimer looks like.
Wow, that's amazing.
With the different types of dementia, is there life expectancy?
Like with Alzheimer disease, usually people like over 50, you have like early onset, or you can have a late onset. Mostly you have a late onset. And recently I was reading about people with the Down syndrome. Many people with the Down syndrome, because they only live till up to 50 years old, they get the dementia, early onset. And many people, they tested, they're still testing and they're doing more research, but you get this early onset. The late onset after 70. But I saw personally, I work with the patients from 36 years old till
That's so young.
56. I have 36 and 56, and they donated the brain, so I studied their brain. The 36-year-old lady, she was fabulous. I only know her for 6 months. So the younger you are, and if you have a pure Alzheimer with other type of dementia, you can have, it's not only you can have pure Alzheimer, you can have a vascular dementia, you can have a frontotemporal dementia with mix, because we have a mixed dementias as well. So that person has different neurological changes as well. She was already born with the different neurological changes. But when I met her, she was fabulous. She was, willing to do more and more and learn more. But her brain didn't allow her.
I have to tell you, with everything you've said and with the experiences that I've had, it takes a special person to be able to do what you do.
Absolutely.
And I admire you for that, because not everybody can do that. I know, for instance, my mother, she had dementia for 10 years, okay? I would walk in and see her. She always remembered me, okay? But then she'd have to go to the ladies' room. She comes back and she'd say, "Oh, when did you get here?" And it was, to me, it was like you said, you got to be patient. Yeah. It was hard at first, but you have to understand that they can't help themselves. They don't know, but it's hard to be patient. You have to teach yourself to do that.
Well, especially at the beginning, because it starts out with repeating.
Yes.
And after a while, you think, oh, please don't ask that question again, because they've already asked you 10 times. But as Joy stresses, patience. But you have to learn that. Yeah. You have to learn how to be patient, and it's not easy.
It's not easy.
It really is very difficult, and the more they get into the disease, the worse it gets. And in my husband's case with the aphasia, he couldn't tell me. He used to hold his head and say, "My brain is scrambled."
Simple words.
Yeah. But when we got into the virtual dementia program, we learned what it felt like and what it was like for them. Maybe you could describe that a little bit.
Yeah, I will talk about this, but I want to go back to the, the patient, being patient. Yes, I have, it's a lot of, with dementia, especially with pure Alzheimer, and how the journey it starts, it's the short-term memory, it's always affected.
Yeah.
That's what the research shows. That's all the books will tell you. Short-term memory, you can remember more long-term memory. Sometimes it reverses. Less, you can see that. But I saw with a lot of my patients, and I have some patients right now, residents, they have, more long-term memory loss than short-term. It depends. So like I told you, I love the brain. And I will be doing my next, educational session at Brooksby Village for the longest day will be all about the brain and which part of the brain affects what. So that's why, because we have each part of our brain, it affects different function, different tasks, what we are doing, the control. So that's why the person, the one is constantly coming and telling you, like where I am, why I'm here, where is my home, where is my dog. It's the short-term memory, and they can remember the long-term. The other, they don't remember anything from their childhood. But you can see more the short-term memory loss. And I have patients. This morning, one patient, she came and probably she said to me 500 times the same thing. But you have to just acknowledge, you have to be for them, you have to offer them support, you open your heart, and be there, because they are human beings. And I always tell people, I love the quote from Maya Angelou, that you don't, sometimes you cannot remember what they said, what they did, but residents, everyone with any cognitive impairment, they can remember how you make them feel. And this is all about emotions. So I have patients that you will come to their apartment and you want to provide direct care, and you already, in the morning, you forgot your key, something happened with your car, you come to your work and you are stressed. They can sense that. They can sense your emotion. So what I do, I always come to the door and I said, deep breath, and another day in paradise. It is a paradise, because this, for those folks, they have different neurological impairment. It's their new world. You're entering new world, which they only understand that word. And you have to, it's their home. You have to go with the flow and listen what they want and what they desire. And that's what I tell everyone. If I see someone, they don't knock at the door, I said, you are entering their home. So Joy is always behind and telling people, only my team is fabulous. The team is, I educate, I'm always for them, and they're always for me. This is just the little reminders, but we all need the reminders. I need the reminders to slow down. Sometimes, I see the person might fall, but I know you have to stay calm. But what we do, we run, because we want to make sure we prevent that fall. But we all make mistakes, but we are here to help each other.
So, you talk about different kinds of dementia. My father was different than my mother, okay? He was 93 and perfectly fine, okay? My mother had passed away a few years ago. He met this other woman, and they became sort of an item, okay? She had a stroke and passed away, and as soon as she passed away, all of a sudden, the dementia came. One time, I'm going into the place where he was living, and the administrator said to me, gee, your father's having a good day today. Okay, I walk into the area there, and my father is standing up. There's about 4 or 5 people sitting down, and he's giving them a lecture on how we got to get out of here because this is a jail and this is terrible and we got to just break out.
That's smart.
And, he didn't, my mother lasted 10 years, him about 6 months. But that's a totally different scenario.
Yeah. But you have to wonder what triggers it. Is it the emotion, distress of having your a loved one pass away?
It is. Like a lot of people, they're asking me, do you think it's depression? Yes, it could be depression.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, I'm going back to this crazy pandemics, I saw a lot of changes when we're in my patients. The one, they were isolated in the independently living community, and
Yep.
they needed to come to us, to medical, building. They were isolated.
Yeah.
And it took them longer during the pandemic, right after the pandemic, and during the longer to adapt to the new environment, to the new world. The other folks before, we have fun. It was like immediate action. Yeah, I know you, I love here, no questions. The others, they will be packing more, or they will be withdrawing, and they will be hiding. But also the emotions of your loved ones, you have that beautiful person and you are losing. They might not understand fully at that moment, but because your dad, he had more clarity. He was educating people to get out from that place, he still has a lot of clarity in his brain. It's different part of the brain was affected. And he was probably a very smart guy, and he wanted to educate them and tell them, hey, get out from there. But a lot of folks are very, very brilliant. They are brilliant, and I treat them with respect, dignity. I listen to them. And of course, if your father would be educating everybody, I would stand next to him and say, tell me more. And I will go with the flow, because it could change immediately. Or the next 5 minutes, he will not even know that what he was telling everybody. It could last for a week. It could last for one day. We don't know. But that's a different type of dementia.
Well, there was one time I went to visit him. My sister and I went to visit him. And all of a sudden, he took a knife and held it and said, get away from me. And that was really kind of strange. Somehow I was able to grab the knife away from him, but he became violent. And we had to call the rescue squad to come down and take him to the hospital and stuff. But this was while he was in a facility. So, I mean, there's
Can happen.
what you say and all the different changes and immediate changes. I've experienced it.
Did you guys ever did he was diagnosed with by neurologist, your dad?
No.
No. It just, changes in the cognition and
Yeah.
You could, so with pure Alzheimer, like I said, you can be very sweet, mellow, go with the flow, or you can experience some of the types of anger, upsetness, behaviors. I grew up in Poland. I'm from Poland, and my grandma had Alzheimer. She was the sweetest lady, the sweetest in the world. But when the Alzheimer just started, when she got diagnosed, she was throwing objects at people, like crystals, the heavy object. And we were all shocked. And she was aware of that because she studied that disease. She studied Alzheimer because my great-grandma had it. And at that time, we didn't have any computers. It was all books. And she worked for the hospital, big hospital, and she studied with the neurologist. And she works, hard to know this disease. But it was very hard to see her like that. And the same with my patients. That's why I tell everyone, with that disease, pure Alzheimer, or any kind of dementia, which is the condition, you should love them unconditionally, but you don't trust anyone because they are in their own world and they can react differently. And also they can remember how you react towards them. You don't know what did happen to your dad prior you came. Maybe they were asking him to do too much, the team. Maybe he wasn't ready. Sometimes you have to listen to their needs. If I will ask you, please eat, and you tell me I don't want right now, and I ask you again and again, you will get frustrated. That's normal life. I will get frustrated. So I tell my team, if someone doesn't want to eat, leave them alone. Come back the next 5 minutes. Many times, I have been thrown out from the resident's apartment. Go away, I don't want you. So I tiptoe outside, I wait, I come back one more time. If they throw me out again because they don't want to see my face, something just happened and they didn't want to see me. Even I love everyone, doesn't matter. It's the brain, it's the cloudness, confusion. I send another person within the next 5 minutes and they are very happy. And they come and they eat. So you have to use different techniques, different approaches for every single person, because every single person is different and sophisticated.
That's what your team does.
Yeah, they
at
do.
Brooksby.
Yes.
And
They do.
they're wonderful.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
And they know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
And they're very upbeat group because, well, a lot of that is due to you. And they keep the patients, the residents, I should say, in an upbeat mood. Doesn't always work with everybody all the time, but it does work. And they have free reign. They can walk anywhere. They walk in and out of each other's rooms. If they go into the office, my husband used to love to go into the office, and Joy finally handed him a broom one day and said, "Here, John."
And he was sweeping.
He
was
wanted to
sweeping,
be busy. He wanted to do something,
Yeah.
and that's what he did.
We call him a little helper. He used to wash the dishes. He used to clean, sweep the floors. He was helping Bill, our painter, push the cart. And we didn't want to take this away. This was his happiness. That was his new world. And many times you will come, I remember at the beginning, I don't think so, he's happy. And we don't know that. We don't know I never know if my patients are happy, my residents, but I know that they are content.
Well,
When
he
they-
always wanted to come home.
Always,
But
yeah.
then as time went on, I found out that they're all like that.
Yeah.
They all want to go home. They're not sure what home is, but they want to go home. And you have to start to say things like next week, or after you have this test, or after your nap, or after dinner. And that satisfies them for the moment.
When you had a house, did he at least sweep the floors in your
He
house?
did. He was very good around the house.
That's why you
he
continue.
maintained
Yeah.
everything. And around the apartment,
He wanted
too.
to stay busy,
Yeah.
and he was,
Yeah.
and that was his happiness.
Yeah.
His little different world, and we didn't interfere.
Yeah.
He was always busy putting the laundry away, helping the housekeepers. And each resident has that moment, and our team, it's fabulous. It's require a lot of education. They get every year they have to get when you get the job at Brooksby, you have to get 8 hours dementia training. That's the requirement from Massachusetts. But constantly we provide every year 4 additional hours of dementia training, and we do our neighborhood, the memory care rest home, require additional education, which I do constantly educate them on spot, or we do additional one. But they're fabulous. They know residents. They know each one.
Yeah, they do.
And it's not like I only know the person on my assignment. No, this is a constant, pure love and like a family-like environment. I love it. And because I am all about this, it's everyone has a voice, It's not just you tell me what to do. Everyone has a voice. Because I have a heart problem and you have dementia. We are not different. You have the same voice like I do. I want to listen to you. You are a human being. I am a human being. So I tell people, you have to treat them with respect and dignity. I advocate constantly. Recently, I was in Beverly Hospital. I was not feeling well, and I had to advocate for one of the patients with dementia. I was so proud of myself. I said, Joy is here. I will help you 100%.
Yeah.
You have to constantly, if you see those folks, please advocate. Please be for them because they need you. They are not able to advocate they are not able to speak up sometimes. Like John, he couldn't tell me what he needed fully. But you have to listen to their needs.
Well, I think it's important, too, to explain to caregivers how much education they need for themselves and how to take care of it when they're still living at home with you. Because so we will get into that in a little while, but right now we have to begin to end this segment of our show. And we're so happy to have Joy here, and we thank you very much for coming, and we
Thank you.
hope that you will come again.
Yes, of course. I'm
Okay.
here for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. And we'll see you all again.